Drives one in the air. Deep right field. It's got a chance. Grand slam. Way back it might be. It could be. Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. Holy cow.
The Dingers podcast is on the air. I'm your host, Mitch. I'm here with Jake and Ian. We're recording Tuesday night, right before the Cubs take on the Giants here in the West Coast late. 8:45 start, game time start. And I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know where we go from here. Like, I know Ian, since he lives closer to the West Coast, he stayed up all night last night watching the Cubs. Jake, I guess, had a late night and stayed up. I didn't, because you know what? Like, I'm not going to put myself through that. I'm Central Time Zone. I'm not going to put myself through that. I almost could have predicted the ending of last night's game before the game even started. But here we are. We're going to talk about the Cubs, even though it's not enjoyable for us to watch or talk about the Cubs. Here we are. So how are you feeling? Jake, we haven't seen you for a while. You're back. How are you doing, buddy?
Brewer to Smiley to Payne, boys. And I tweeted it, and the tweet got some traction that, like, how are you going to take a team seriously that puts out Colton Brewer and Drew Smiley in the ninth to try to secure a win? I mean, great outing by Steele. Steele's been exactly what we need. Again, it's the starting pitching. I haven't been on here to talk about it. I know you guys have talked about it. I know it's been all over Cubs Twitter. The starting pitching's been good. The offense has been better. I mean, good enough over the last couple of weeks, for the most part. It just is like, it's impossible for this team to click on all facets of the game. You know, one thing too that I know we'll probably talk about later that Talking Baseball tweeted out that you, Mitch, sent to the group. It just is. It's a reminder that baseball is a tough sport. But God, I'll tell you guys, with life being what it's been for me over the last couple of months, it's been really difficult to be tuned into the Cubs because they haven't made life easier. They haven't made life more enjoyable. And that's what they're supposed to be doing for us. Ian, how was it staying up late watching these sons of bitches?
I hate you guys. I hate you guys. Like you just said, baseball is a hard sport. But this team makes it look impossible to play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This team makes it look impossible to win games. The amount of, like, my eyes were glazed over from what as I was watching it unfold last night. I was like, I can't be hurt anymore. You can't
hurt me in a new way. But
no,
new way is to
right.
Right. Like that's
where does this might fit? Like, nope, I've already got him there.
And you know what? The first thing I texted Jake today was, this is like bordering on some Rockies level of bad. You know, I like to rag on the Rockies because they're here in town and it's low hanging fruit for me because, you know, I'm inundated with their results all the time. But, like, we are approaching that with this team. And, you know, I've seen a lot of people, especially on Twitter, like, saying, oh, well, you can't account for, like, all of the bullpen being hurt. That's true. You can't account for all of the bullpen being hurt, but every team is getting hurt now. Like, every team has injuries, and other teams are still finding ways to not blow leads late in games. Like, it's the very concept of next man up that they preach in football. And I just can't. I didn't think I could be hurt a new way. And last night I wasn't hurt, but I wasn't I guess, like, the bad part about it is to say I wasn't surprised.
I was just gonna say, it's like
that's the problem.
Nothing surprises me, good or bad. Nothing surprises me with this team, and I think that's the frustrating thing. Coming into this season, I think we had high expectations, and I think that was totally fair. I mean, looking back on it, we had to have Bellinger repeat his performance of last year, Seiya stay hot and consistent and healthy. Nico and Hap continue to play at a high level, and just like all of those guys have been too streaky, too unpredictable. So like I said, anytime they do something good, it's like, yes, that's what we expect out of you. So it's not, and I think that's kind of like the numbing thing about watching this team is that there isn't anything that they can do anymore to surprise us, because it's just, they're so middling in between those good and bad surprises.
They could play well. That would surprise us.
At this point, right? Yeah.
Right.
Which is like, it'd be a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, so the Cubs lead the majors in one-run games. I think they're up to 21 one-run games, and their record is not great in those one-run games, especially the last 2 months, and especially the last week where we've lost in the last 8 days. We've lost 4 one-run games.
Not that I need another stat to make me more depressed. What's our record in those one-run games?
I'll look it up. It up.
Like, here's my the Cubs payroll is $33 million. They're in all of baseball, they're sitting 8th. So you can't say that the Cubs have not spent money, that Jed has not spent money. I've heard Jed for the last 4 years talk about intelligent spending, right? We've heard that phrase. We just need to spend intelligently. And I'm sorry, but we've missed on every single one. Ian Happ, and I was one that championed and supported that Ian Happ extension. He's not cutting it. Nico Horner, I was one that let's go get it. Sorry, but Nico Horner could stand at home plate, hit the ball, go to where the ball landed and hit it again, and still wouldn't be a home run right now.
Yeah.
Bellinger, I'm sorry, he's not to be able to get big money that he wants and be able to go out there and spend the money. He's not it. Dansby, he's worse than Jason Hayward. We have not spent intelligently, and
that's been the whole thing that they've harped on. We're going to spend intelligently.
Yep. And so, sorry, Jed,
it.
you've missed. You've missed.
Right.
So your head should be on the block. When is your contract up? Here in 2025, I think your contract's up. If you don't make the playoffs this year, and you basically have the next 20 games to make that happen, make or break that, because these next 20 days is how I'm going to judge the season, and if I'm going to want to check out, or I don't know, but
but that's fair.
They have to do something, and they are playing the most boring brand of baseball. And what I think pushed me over the edge, and all the losses have been difficult, the new ways they've figured out how to lose, but was Sunday. That was where here we are celebrating one of the greats. I'm wearing my 1984 Sandberg shirt that's legit from 1984, and it still fits me.
Nice.
But we're celebrating Ryan Sandberg, one of the greats. The team stood up there and watched people talk about how he played the game. And then we go out on Sunday Night Baseball and get K'd 14 times and play the most boring brand of baseball. Halfway through it, I went outside because my kids were playing outside, and I'm getting bit by mosquitoes. Gnats are all over me. The bugs are killing me. And I enjoyed that more than watching this team play.
Absolutely.
It is so frustrating to watch. There's a list of 50 things I would put ahead of importance rather than watching this team play. And I think the majority of Cubs fans are there. And it's we deserve better. This.
I have no desire to go to any of the games that I have tickets for.
Nope. Yeah. People ask me, are you going to go to a game? Nope. I'm not going to spend money.
Why would you?
And you know what else I'm seeing is that no one wants to buy my damn tickets. So I am not only do I not want to watch the team, I don't want to go to the game and spend the money to go to a game, and then I'm losing money on like the last 3 games I've listed tickets for. I either have lost money. I'm not trying to have a pity party. I'm just saying the state of things. I've lost money on tickets, or they haven't sold. The Father's Day game, I couldn't sell the tickets for a Father's Day game. Granted, the day, like it was like a 90-degree day, so like I didn't want to sit in the bleachers either. But Father's Day Cubs baseball, like those tickets should be snapped up like that. And I tanked the price. I was willing to take like a huge loss on that. Could not sell them, and that's a huge come on.
Well, and to hammer home the point of like the state of things, it's like how are, and by the way, Mitch, I like Fiery Mitch. Fiery Mitch is fun.
I'm over it. Like I'm just like over watching this team lose in new ways. Like it's like, come on.
And it's one thing to be like, if we as fans were upset, and this is where I'm at with the state of things, and this is where it gets alarming to me, is if we as fans were upset or elated, those are two valid like points of emotion when it comes to supporting a sports team. Apathy is when it starts to get really dangerous to me. Because apathy turns into almost hobby spending for people. So that's where I get concerned that nothing is going to change, because it just turns into something to do in Chicago. And the fact that I even have to draw this parallel is sickening to me. But one of the best things to do in the summer in Denver, Colorado, is to go to Coors Field. The team is not ever good enough to justify spending hours of your day at Coors Field, but it's fun to do because the park is nice. It's a good experience. And the fans of that team are apathetic in a way. And that's where I start to get a little concerned now, because that's what I'm seeing or starting to see out of the fan base. I don't know if you guys follow them, but Alex Pat and Sam Olber, they're, pretty excellent on Twitter in terms of coverage and how they, talk about the team. I have felt like Bill Murray every single game, reading their tweets after every single game. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day because I swear to God, I've seen the same thing every single time that we've lost in the last few weeks. And of course, I'm not going to go look to see how similar they were, but man, they feel real similar every single time they tweet right after we lose.
Yep.
And my thing with Jed, like, because we put a lot on David Ross last year, which
totally.
It's exactly
we should probably take back a little bit of what we said.
Only a little though.
But like this needs to focus on Jed. Like he was hired in 2020. I can give him a pass on 2021 when he sold everybody. Yeah. And in the promise of 2023 or 2022, I could give him a pass too. But 2023 last year, that's when we were like, okay, expectations should change. You had an opportunity to spend money. We're a big market team. We can throw our weight around. And we got Eric Hosmer, Mancini, Dansby Swanson,
Tucker Barnhart,
as Jeff likes to call him, Joe Hosmer or
Eric. I think it was Eric
or Steven Hosmer
or Steven Hosmer or whatever.
Literally, it doesn't matter. Like with him, I think we're all saying the wrong name, but that's exactly the point.
I like him as a podcaster now.
Sure,
is he podcasting?
Yeah, he's podcasting with what's the Australian pitcher guy that was?
Oh, yeah. Peter Moylan?
Yeah, Peter Moylan. He's doing a podcast with
So we're a year removed from somebody we spent free agent money on podcasting?
Yep.
That's what you're telling me.
And then we give him this year. And like, what has he done? What has he done to bring in any like big name or somebody that we can like okay, this is a cornerstone piece that we're
Yeah.
going to build around, and this is what we're going to do. Nothing.
I think I tweeted about this because this was like maybe a month ago or a little over a month ago. And here's the other thing too, guys. The Cubs being so lackluster has me not even listening to baseball podcasts anymore. Like, that's how disconnected it has me. And that is unheard of for me. I mean, it used to be like 3 baseball podcasts a day I'd be consuming. And one of my favorites, as I've referenced on this show before, is the Athletics Rates and Barrels. And once a week, they have Rich Giroli on, who's an excellent writer, baseball writer for the Athletic, and on the podcast here. And she was talking about, like, they were talking specifically about the Cubs. So it's Eno Saris, who's one of the best stat minds in the game. Derek Van Riper, shouts out to a Madison native, and Rich Giroli. And they were asking, like, well, like, what is the problem with the Cubs? And I think Britt, I'm nearly positive I tweeted this clip, and I will go back and find it and post it after this episode so you guys can see it. She basically was talking about the Cubs' inability, as you just said, Mitch, to land one of the top free agent pieces. And Ian and I have speculated that, we think that Ian thinks that players just don't like Jed, or agents and other teams don't like Jed and don't want to deal with him for whatever reason.
I felt that way for a couple of years now too.
Yeah. And so it goes back to what we were saying earlier. We have a huge payroll, but we're spending money on just mid-level guys, complementary pieces. And the thing that I will hammer, like, I will beat this point to death until we sign a player for a lot of money that pans out. Missing on Bryce Harper is the single biggest mistake that this front office, that might have been under Theo, but even still, single biggest mistake ever made by this era of the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
Oh, he's too much money. His salary now is like $2 million more than what Hap is making.
It is a bargain. His salary now is a bargain.
Like, are you kidding me? And that goes to the point of, like, as long as the CBA is continuing to raise 1% every year, the biggest contracts each offseason market are going to age really well, because there's it doesn't look like there's going to be a ceiling on the spending of, like, what these players can get paid, which is, you're neither here nor there. Like, you can feel however you want about that. But the point being, should have spent money on Harper. And I'll also never, I don't think I'm in the majority for this one, but I'll also never forget them for not going all in on Corey Seager. Like, that was a huge mistake. I don't know if Corey Seager was set on Texas. Like, there's the no income tax thing there, and that, I think that draws players to that area. But those are two guys, and we've talked about, like, needing lefty pop in this lineup, needing star power. It's inexcusable to me. When we're a big market team, it's the Chicago effing Cubs. Yeah. Bring in the big boys.
So one thing, and Mitch, you brought this up in terms of giving Jed a pass for maybe 2021 when you sold people. What makes that a little harder to stomach now is presumably for these 3 generational players for your team, that's how they were perceived, and emotionally, that's how I think they're still perceived by some in the city.
Yeah.
The returns are not good. Because as we, you said this next 20 game stretch matters to you. The Tampa and St. Louis stretch, that was back to back for me. That was my point of how are you going to do in this stretch? Because this is what matters to me. And now I sit there and go, who are we going to sell? Who are we selling at the deadline? And what are we even going to get for them? Chief Cub, 11 hours ago, tweeted today, unpopular opinion, but a Nico Horner trade makes way too much sense for this club. And I have a really hard time disagreeing with that statement. Like,
I would trade Nico Horner.
Yep.
he's the only, I think he's like the only offensive player with value. And it probably only, I mean, he's got the extension, and that's what it comes down to. I think is the control is what is most, obviously the glove, and that he can play
Totally.
shortstop or second base. But hey, the Dodgers are looking for a shortstop, right? Everyday shortstop still. Send him to the Dodgers. See if you can get like Miguel Vargas, a guy that's just like Michael Busch has been kind of stuck in no man's land. This is just something I'm pulling out of my ass. I haven't given any thought to this, but
anyone at this point, though.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't think any teams want Nico Hoerner right now, because I think Nico Horner's been hurt, and that's another problem.
Yeah.
We keep on playing guys through injuries that they obviously aren't right. Like, he's obviously not right. Like, there's something going on with his hand, and he's just like gritting it out.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, like I get it, but we don't have anybody else that can fill in, because we try to get Miles Mastroboni and those type of guys to fill in. It's like, they aren't major league ready guys. Like,
no,
how do you not have, you're supposed to have a plethora of shortstops in your minor league system. Is not one of them ready to be able to like fill in at second base? Like, give me a break.
Right.
Like,
yeah, who did we call up for like 2 games?
What's it?
Wasn't it Luis? Isn't his first name Luis? He got called up like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I don't think he saw the field.
No, he didn't.
Luis Vasquez.
Yeah,
Luis Vasquez.
Luisito Vasquez.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you talk about, like, you look at the depth and I think one guy that's not being talked about, or at least I haven't been on Twitter a ton, but James Triantos, man, and James Triantos is probably going to be playing second base.
Yeah, just call him up. He's still in Double-A, but like, you brought Nico up from
Double-A.
Double-A.
Move him up to Triple-A. He's been tearing up Double-A.
Yeah.
Move him up to Triple-A. If you deal Nico, give him a cup of coffee at the end of the season and see how he does, just like we did with PCA last year. Let him sink or swim and make the dude's like, I think still only 21 years old, but at this point that's a fine line too, right? Because you don't want to do what I think was done to Albert Almora, where like I think he was kind of rushed, and I don't know if that we saw that his career didn't pan out, and maybe I don't think you can only blame him being rushed on that not panning out, but
yeah, you don't want to blow the confidence of the kid, but...
right, but I think like this guy's teared up Double-A, and by all accounts, like he's a baseball junkie. Like it feels like he's got the makeup to be able, like the mental makeup to be able to deal with it from everything that I've seen.
And his stat lines at every level have been the exact same. Like I can't remember who posted it, but it was like at every level, high school, like every level, or as a pro, his slug has been the same. His OPS has been the same. His steals have been the same. His home run rate has been the same, like at every level. So it's like, okay, he's pretty consistent. This is who he is. I think they have enough now data on him to like know what
at Double-A this year, 61 games, 262 plate appearances. He's got 14 doubles, 3 triples, 6 home runs, 25 stolen bases. I didn't know the guy. Frankly, I didn't know the guy was a speed threat.
Right.
Only caught 3 times. That's Double-A catching probably. Slashing 309, 344, 465, which is his highest slugging percentage since 25 games in rookie ball in 2021. So
his OPS is 809, which is highest since rookie ball.
Yeah, last 21 days, he's slashing 409, 451, 652. He has 3 of his 6 home runs in the last 21 days. So
he's seeing something, and the development is there obviously now.
And the big thing is like one of the things that you hear talked about a lot is contact rate. I know I talked about back in the spring. 88.9% contact rate. That is like elite contact rate. Like bad is low 70s, high 60s. 88 is crazy. Unfortunately, I don't think you can see like zone contact rate for minor leaguers, but like that would be even more telling that he's being, decisive at the plate. I would imagine his zone contact rate is great too, not swinging and missing at pitches in the zone. So we're getting really fixated on one guy, but like it goes back to what the start of this conversation was. Who gets dealt? Who has any value? Because at this point, I think it's pretty clear. Like they would have to go on a crazy run over the next month. And again, this goes back to like nothing would shock me. But they would have to go on a crazy run to be buyers.
Yeah.
But like, and to kind of wrap that thought, somebody keeps tweeting about like how gross the NL wildcard race is and how all of these teams are like below 500, like at least, a couple games or more under 500, but are all within one game of a wild card spot. So I don't know off the top of my head where the Cubs fall in that mix right now. I'm assuming they're not close, but it just goes to show that with that extra wild card, like the expanded playoffs, I'm nervous that they don't do fucking anything at the deadline this year.
Yeah.
And that would be the worst. That's the worst possible outcome.
Yep. Because then you're not getting better in any direction. You're just signing up for.
The Cubs are 3 games back of the wild card.
That's crazy. When you think about how piss poor they've been, to only be 3 games out of a playoff spot is wild.
Well, every team that's not in a wild card spot is below 500. It used to be like 2 weeks ago when we recorded, even the San Diego Padres, who was in the wild card, was 2 games below 500.
Right.
Now it's every team. So Diamondbacks on down are all below 500 baseball. San Diego is 42 and 41, and they're the last wild card spot.
See, that's what's so frustrating is like
you have a hot week and you're right back in this thing. That's
right.
Like you go on a tear here in the next 2 weeks.
Going back to the 1-run record, I found it, and they're 14 and 18.
If 7 of those games flip, you're a different team.
And that's the thing, man. Like that record could flip from here on out. Who knows? Like 1-run games are coin flips. Like
not to this team.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they're 2 games below a 500 record in 1-run games, so they're pretty close to a coin flip.
Yeah, like, but it was 4-3.
It doesn't feel like they are right now. It doesn't. Right. It doesn't feel like they are right now. But like again, that's honestly that's kind of scary to me that it could be that quick to correct, because I think then that goes to no activity at the deadline,
or marginal activity.
Yeah, and like I don't know, man. There have been some arms that I've seen tweeted about that are doing well at AAA. Ethan Roberts coming back is promising.
It's a great story.
Well, we know I love Frankie Scalzo, and to my knowledge, he still has like a crazy scoreless streak going on. But there's one other guy who's been like pretty lights out recently in AAA. Who is it? Do you guys know? I feel like I've seen. This is bad podcasting. Anyway,
no, it's not, because like we're so focused on like how does the major league team get better that it's we've exhausted the options of okay, is there help coming?
Well, here are the 2 guys that are on the 2 pitchers on the 40-man in Iowa. Ethan Roberts and Daniel Palencia. And man, I don't know.
Palencia's pitched well as of late. He pitched a 1-2-3, 10-pitch inning, 7 strikes, topped 101 4 times.
That's right. We've always known that the fastball's there, but like I'd be curious to see. I mean, I'll look it up while we're talking about something else, but I'd be curious to see what his fastball profile is. Ethan Roberts, meanwhile, 14 games, 15 innings, 18 strikeouts, .93 whip, and no earned runs. So I think Ethan Roberts is getting pretty close.
Which is a great story too. Like that's
Absolutely.
Totally. I mean, I put Ethan Roberts and Cody Hoyer like side by side for a while, and it sucks what happened to Cody Hoyer. Like that was brutal. Him coming back last year.
The other guy was Hunter Biggie.
Hunter Biggie.
Yeah, Hunter Biggie.
Last 6
Hunter
outings, 7 innings, 0 hits, 0 runs, 11 Ks,
and
3 base on ball.
saves.
And he's topped 100 13 times.
Yeah. But he also only has 8 appearances between extended spring rookie ball, South Bend, and now 6 games at Iowa. So yeah, I mean, like, but that begs the question, like, is the bullpen the only thing that needs to be solidified right now in your eyes? Like, if those 2 guys come up and Tyson Miller keeps doing what he's been doing, and Keegan Thompson proves that he is the high leverage guy that we thought he was 2 years ago, and then Biggie and Roberts come in and continue the dominance that they granted in short stints at AAA. If they continue that dominance and it translates to the big leagues, is that enough, one, to bolster the bullpen and make you guys feel confident, and 2, for this team to be competitive? Like, is that the missing piece in your eyes?
Well, I guess like you have to determine, and before we get answers to those, we're going to have an answer to what this team is going to do before we're going to get answers to those questions, because the answer to whether or not them coming up and bolstering the bullpen is only going to matter if, are we buyers, sellers, or are we doing nothing? Are we riding this out?
I would say that if our bullpen was even 20% better this year, this conversation, this feel, because those
changes,
that coin flip of 1-run games then maybe moves to a 60-40 in our favor.
Yep.
And then instead of 3 games back, we're right in the thick of a wild card, and it's still June. It's still somewhat, I've heard Dansby say in an interview, it's still June.
Oh
right?
My God.
Like, but like, then we're like, it's a different story, because then we're like, okay, we're right there. If the bats start coming alive a little bit and we go on a little hot stretch, then we can feel better about ourselves a little bit. But right now it's like, when you have 2 facets of the game struggling so bad, it makes it so hard to watch, to enjoy, to root for, to get behind, to feel like, yeah, we're okay. We're okay. We're going to get through this. If you just had, like, when the offense and the bullpen struggling, like it's anytime you get down, like Cliff Floyd said the other day after the pregame, anytime this team gets down, there's no life to it, and you feel like this is a loss, like anytime. And so, like, if you had a good bullpen, or if you had like that, then like games like yesterday, you would feel a little bit more confident, like, okay, we're going to at least win this one, and we could take 3 out of 4 versus the Giants in this 4-game set. And then we're inching closer before the trade deadline. We're making moves like what we need to do in these next 20 games to put ourselves in a good position by the trade deadline. But that isn't happening because our bullpen's weak. Now, if those guys came up here and helped our bullpen and we get on a little bit of a roll, I think even with our offense struggling, I think we push those 1-run games and we can win more, because our starting pitching has been so great. Like, I have to give them a hand, because they have carried our team to the wins that we've got. Like,
they're getting let down, like, too.
I know people like ragged on Tyone. Like, sorry, like, Tyone's having a great year. Like,
he's having a fantastic year.
Like,
he really is.
Steel stud. Imanaga, like, I'm sorry, but like, even with Imanaga, like, we cannot let Angel Reese back in Wrigley Field. He has not pitched well since he met Angel Reese. Like, that's a problem. Why do we ever invite somebody that toxic into Wrigley Field?
No.
Get her out of here.
Let's not get into that. No.
Caitlin,
No, Angel is
her,
great.
I guarantee you.
She is great for the WNBA.
I guarantee you get Caitlin Clark in there and shaking Imanaga's hand. He is going to.
That's an Iowa bias.
Nobody's
That's
going
an
to
Iowa bias right there. Listen to this guy.
Oh my gosh.
I will say that he has not struck anybody out since Angel Reese is shaken.
It wasn't just her though. It was Camilla. It was Camilla Cardoso too. Like
yes, I am an Iowa homer, but
they were there together.
I mean, so here's the thing. Here's the thing that kind of scares me. Right, we're playing the Giants. We already lost the first game of a 4-game series. Then we play 3 at Milwaukee this weekend, which I don't feel good about. I don't understand how they are doing it. I don't.
They just
got
get it. Dallas Keuchel too.
Okay, what?
They're making big moves now. That's what.
Yeah.
That's the type. But sadly, that's the type of moves that Milwaukee does. And then watch, he will succeed. Like, he will do just enough. Like, it's like so frustrating.
To quote Jake earlier, I wonder what Zach is doing right now.
Dude, and it's fun. And when he says Zach, he means Greinke for the listeners. I tweeted that out this morning because I was thinking it last night, completely not in relation to the Cubs. I was just like, man,
he's cool.
Zach Greinke's not playing baseball right now. Like, what do you think he's doing with his time? And
he should do a podcast.
Dude, yeah. I think that would be the most popular baseball podcast.
And I bet if he wants to play, he could come here though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, if you ever want to be a part of our podcast, just throwing this up here, join us. We would love to have you.
You know what? It would be, I feel like everything I've heard about Zach Greinke, it'd be very Zach Greinke to be like, I'm going to listen to this like small Cubs podcast. I want to know what Cubs fans are thinking right now. I'm going to listen to it on 2 times speed and I'll digest all of it.
Something to say though, before we navigate even further is, Mitch, you brought it up. Like, if even, well, actually, theoretically, you both have brought it up because you're talking about the switch flipping on 1-run games. If 7 of those 1-run games, doesn't matter who they're against, shift in the other direction, you're not just in a wild card race. You're in a division race. Because then you're presumably, say, 5 of them were against division opponents and 2 of them were against non-division opponents. Then you're at most 2 or 3 games behind the Brewers.
Yeah. I mean, but so I don't have a lot of confidence in them facing the Brewers at Milwaukee because with the state of the team, I don't think the fans are going to travel especially well right now.
No.
And then after the Brewers, we've got the Phillies, the world-beating Phillies at home. And that scares me the most because their starting pitching is crazy. Like, when Aaron Nola is like the 3rd or 4th best pitcher in that rotation, that's a problem. Like, seeing that team on your schedule does not give you a lot of confidence.
Right.
So, I mean, it gets a little bit. I mean, then they've got the Angels, which honestly could go either way. But then you've got the Orioles for 3 and the Cardinals for 4. So that's like the next 3 weeks out, basically. We're at game 80 right now. That gets us through game 98.
If they can win the Brewers series somehow miraculously and win that Cardinals series, you've given yourself a lifeline.
Totally.
A little bit of a lifeline.
The Cardinals series wraps, looks like right before the break. Yeah, because they've got the Cardinals from July 12th. They've got a doubleheader. That must be a rain out makeup. So they've got So they've got the 12th, 13th, and 14th, and then the next game isn't until the 19th. So you've got the All-Star break there. So yeah, if you can win if you win a series against the Brewers and then win a series against the Cardinals going into the All-Star break, unfortunately, that has me feeling kind of good.
Yeah, especially
unfortunately because I don't want false hope anymore.
Right,
especially
if you only win 1 against the Phillies, like that's fine. If you just sneak 1 away from them, you just presume you lose.
It's 2. At home. It's at home. So there is a home field advantage. Like if you look at teams home or even individual players home and away splits, like it's real, folks. Like that's home field advantage is a thing in Major League Baseball.
So out of the 18 losses in one-run games, 8 of them came against individual rivals. And they've won 3 of them versus individual, but they've lost 8 of them. So you flip 7 of them just in division, and that makes a huge difference. Yeah. Do you remember when who did we play in the very first? Did we play Milwaukee the very first in division?
I think that was our first division series, wasn't it?
It was.
Do you remember that podcast where I brought up like this year? It was in May.
It was 3rd, Milwaukee, 4th, at 5th. Home. We won the series. We won that series. That was May 3rd.
And I talked about, I was like, this year, those games in division matter more because you can control your destiny more because you don't play them as much.
Yep.
And we went on the rest of those series in division and just pissed it down our leg. Like,
I mean, on May 5th, after beating the Brewers in 2 out of 3 games, they were 21-14. They lost a series to the Padres next, and then won a series against Pittsburgh. So on as recently, I mean, I guess it's not really, well, I mean, yeah, a little over a month ago. God, it's June 25th. Well over a month ago. 24-17. And it doesn't say here where they were in, it doesn't say the divisional standings at that point, but you got to imagine at 24-17 at that point, I'm pretty sure they were atop the division.
Oh yeah.
So it just like what happened, what happened? And that's the offense was like day and night. Remember, they were scorching hot to start the season, scorching hot. And a lot of it was also, Michael Busch hitting a home run 5 games in a row. And I will always be upset that he didn't get the Busch 6-pack. I'll always be upset that we couldn't tweet that. But hey, even he's coming around. Going back to trades, I don't know what the value is right now, but if he rebounds at all and it doesn't coincide with the team being competitive, trade Christopher Morel too. Like, he's a young piece. He has the bat. Another team could probably play him at second base every day or play him at DH every day, whatever. But he's another guy that potentially could have a little bit of value. But it sucks. It sucks that that's where we are, that Nico and Morel's a huge if that's dependent on him really turning a season around here. It sucks that those are the 2 guys that are really the only guys that have any value.
Some good news, by the way. Daniel Palencia, first outing off the injured list. 10 pitches, 7 strikes, topped out at 101.
Love that.
Nice little scoreless appearance.
You just see it translate. Like, he's shown flashes of like, whoa, at the major league level, but it hasn't stuck. And it could be the pitch mix again. I go back to the fastball shape. I don't know what how good his fastball shape is, but I said I was going to look that up while you guys were chatting. So go ahead and chat about Daniel Palencia or others, and I will look up his fastball shape.
I'm stuck on who has value now. You got me thinking about it.
It's like, but it is a serious conversation that has to be had right now, and it sucks. But
would you? Yeah, I know we brought up Tyone. He has value. He's pitched in a big market before. Could you trade him? I mean, then it hurts our starting
pitching.
And
Jordan Wicks are back. Like, if those guys can get healthy, then sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're out of it,
if
the next 20 games go really, really bad, why would you not look like everybody besides Steele? And who else? Like I Steele, I'd put as a no because I won't. He's somebody that you could still build.
And he's untouchable.
The young pitchers that you don't get, like you're still trying. But on the offensive side, Seiya. Why not? Like if he has value, like put Seiya on the block. Like he hasn't produced of like he's had little glimpses of like, ooh, this is awesome.
It's a tough sell for the fan base, I think.
But there's too much of those in between. Even for me, like I'm almost souring on Seiya and my hype for Seiya because
I know it sucks. It sucks, dude.
It's so much back and forth, and then he gets injured, and then like he gets hot, and then he gets injured, and then he goes through a spell where he just looks lost at the plate and lost out in the outfield, and you're like, oh, okay, could we put somebody else out there and DH him? But then he's struggling offensively, and you're like, oh, then you have like a Sunday night where he gets like 3 or 4 hits. You're like, all right, Seiya's back, like let's go.
Yep.
Right.
And so like,
I looking up Palencia, so this is according to pitcher list values. His fastball, his four-seam fastball is in the 85th percentile in terms of value, which is good. And the rest of the numbers, like the rest of the metrics are pretty good on that too. The problem is he doesn't have anything else. Slider's not good. Sinker sucks. Splitter really sucks.
and at AAA, you can make that fastball eat and beat 90% of the guys.
Right. So, and I don't know what the, I don't know how many pitches these are or how many pitches he's thrown. I don't know what the sample size is of these pitch statistics, which is something. Nick Pollock, if you happen to be listening, please tell me how many pitches thrown. Please put that in the charts on pitcher list.
I mean, as we get closer to wrapping up this episode, so my son had a game tonight, and while we were there, one of my buddies said, hey, I watched Sunday night's game because it was on national broadcast. He's like, I haven't watched much Cubs baseball this year. He's like, that's rough. That was rough. How do you, and he asked me, how do you do this? He's like, you do a podcast and have to talk about this. How do you do this? And I said, I didn't even know what to say. I don't know. It is rough.
That's just the best way to do. That's rough. You watch Cubs baseball? That's rough.
And he's like, and it sounds like it hasn't been going well. It's like, it hasn't.
No.
It hasn't, my guy. It hasn't.
My guy.
every time I'm getting a haircut, I'm just cutting my hair a little bit shorter. I'm going through a crisis over here lately.
And so that's where we're at. So he who hasn't watched the Cubs can tune into one game and he gets the vibe and feel of what this team is instantly. He can see it. And so I don't know what needs to change. But it does. This team looks dead. It looks dead in the water, dead offensively. And last year around this time, yeah, they weren't great. This is the time when they started making the turning it on, but there was a different vibe and feel. There was guys that, I don't know, they just carried themselves with a little bit more swagger up the plate.
Kelly and Dansby had something going on, and
yeah, they were talking, you could see they were chipper. Now you look in the dugout and they all just look like hats off, just dreading the dog days of summer, hating their life. You get when you're in a job and you're just frustrated and you're man, I just want to get today over with. That's what they look like.
Is Counsell the difference maker? Is Counsell the reason why?
I've talked about it with Ian. One thing that
we've talked about it.
Ross did was he could build a clubhouse, and I don't know. I'm starting to put more value in that as in coaching, especially professional sports. It's not the X's and O's a lot of times. That's what a bench guy or all these other guys. Why you get really good guys behind you. It's the front guy just needs to build a great clubhouse. I'm putting more.
But then I sit there and I look at other managers too, and Dave Roberts has the personality of a thumb, and Alex Cora is a complete turd. I think historically of managers who've done well as of late, I could manage the Dodgers and win.
right now. Like, give me a break. Like, the Dodgers are gonna win.
Dave Roberts hasn't won a whole lot with the Dodgers. So there's
Mitch, are you available?
Yeah, are you available?
I would manage the Dodgers if I would take half his paycheck.
I mean, look, Bud Black, he's a player's guy and he can't get his team to do anything. Look, it's Aaron Boone's kind of boring. I mean,
give me Gabe Kapler.
Aaron Boone, have you watched him with?
See, I would love Gabe. Yeah,
it's funny. Like he can,
but you can put it on too.
He's such a Yankees guy, though. Like he's specifically a Yankees guy, the same way Torrey was, the same way La Russa was a Cardinals guy. Like Gabe Kapler would be. Gabe Kapler felt like he was going to be the next like Joe Madden style.
Yeah,
right.
I liked him,
and then he got run out of San Francisco.
I don't like Gabe Kapler. I think
I can't color me surprised.
He is a hot man. All right.
Oh, he's a good looking dude. I don't like him because I think maybe it's because I didn't like him as a player because I felt like he was like really hot headed as a player. I don't know. I don't know much as a manager.
There's a lot of managers that, I mean, are just total dweebs that.
Yep.
And I didn't follow him much as a manager in San Francisco. Like I did. Didn't he manage somewhere else too?
Philly.
Yeah.
Philly. Right. Yeah. I just didn't follow his style there. So
I get the idea that like Ross was able to inspire something, but man, if it takes being buddy with your manager to get you to play up, that's not the kind of person that I would want on my team anyway, though.
True.
Because you're still like, Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan only liked each other a little bit. I mean, look at LeBron. LeBron gets to select any coach and fire any coach that he wants. It's like, but he still gets up and plays for whoever he has to play for.
Yeah, but maybe it's because of me as a teacher. I put a ton of stock into relationships because relationships matter. And people
teachers matter. MLB managers don't.
But like, but like, if I want a kid, like even like as I'm coaching my like travel team, like there's a relationship that like I need to build within them to get them to follow. Like even in a classroom, I need to like get them to buy into me first, and I need to make connections with everybody.
Sure.
And if Greg Counsell, if you're just a name on a sheet and you're not there, like it's really hard to play for that. I mean, I don't know what it is because we're
saying that now, but the Brewers players seem to love.
That's why we like to say like we know what's going on in the clubhouse. We know how Ross really managed. We don't know how Craig Counsell really manages behind the closed doors. Right. He might be a great personal guy, and they're just struggling, and they're all just. Sometimes you're going through a job in baseball and any sport, and you're just struggling, and you're all in it. And you can't get out of it, and it's not one person's problem. It's not one person's fault. It's just. Well, it's the bullpen's fault.
I think one of the things to consider too is like, they brought in Craig, but were their philosophies super lined up? Like Ross would have played whoever, Jed, Carter, and whoever else had the lineup card. He would have played whoever they told him to play. And Mitch, I brought this up last week when you and I were on. Of maybe Craig is like, my philosophy is a little bit different, and I will play who I think is the best player in each position. Like he's having his Art Howe moment in order to get better players. The lineup card is mine, Hattie, not Pena. but in other words, it's Pena, not Hattie, right now. I don't know. It's we were told no more slander on Tigers legend Drew Smiley.
Yeah, that's fine.
Drew Smiley avoided
Hershey missed
specific call-outs tonight. But
that was earlier.
Yeah. Tune into the recording.
Yeah.
Tune into the recording and let me have it in the group chat.
Oh man.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up because 55 minutes. We've kind of gone through it.
Time flies when you're complaining.
Yeah.
For me, it's next 20 games. Like I need to see some changes. We need to see we're 3 games back in the wild card. That's where it's like, just don't play with our emotions. Either just suck really, really bad and just put us deep back so we can do something. Don't play this stick around 3 to 5 games. Can't handle it.
And on the flip side, we're a hot streak away. We're only 9 games back in the division. Like I said, winning the series against the Brewers and winning the series against the Cardinals gives you enough of a lifeline to be just sick enough.
You can bet that the streak won't start tomorrow because they're facing a rookie pitcher. And we know the Cubs track record against rookies.
We're gonna get no hit through 7. Sweet.
Yes, sir. I am absolutely starting him in fantasy tomorrow. Hayden Birdsong. Here we go. Here's the pearl.
I have a request, Jake. If you want to get a streak going at any point, anytime that mustache wants to come back, please.
I have to grow everything out. It's not quite long enough yet. I thought maybe yesterday I'd be able to shave everything but the mustache, but
Mitch, you better be careful, or I'm going to drag you into the mustache club.
Gotta stay with the beard.
We got to try things, guys.
We do.
Patty needs to bring the mustache back.
Ooh, there you go.
Patty will follow his lead.
I'll tell him.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Make sure you're going following On Tap Sports Network and our friends over at Cubs on Tap. But that does it for episode 157 of Dinger's Podcast. Thanks for listening, and go Cubs.
Go Cubs.